Good morning and welcome to the New York City Council hearing of the Committee on Zoning and Franchise. At this time, can everybody please silence your cell phones? If you wish to testify, please come up to the Sergeant at Arms desk to fill out a testimony slip. At this time and going forward, no one is to approach the dais. I repeat, no one is to approach the dais. Chair, we are ready to begin.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to a meeting of the Subcommittee of Zoning and Franchises. I'm Councilmember Kevin Riley, Chair of the Subcommittee. This morning, I'm joined remotely by Councilmember Moya, Councilmember Abreu, Councilmember Shulman, Councilmember Carr, and Councilmember Osei. Today, we are scheduled to hold 4 votes and then 3 hearings. The first vote concerns LU's 57, which consists of the gaming facility text amendment. The second vote concerns LU's 41, 42, 43, 46, and 47, which consists of the 341 10th Street rezoning proposal. The third vote concerns LU's 58, which consists of the 41 Richard Street rezoning proposal. The fourth and final vote concerns LU's 61, which consists of the 80-01 Broadway Commercial Overlay rezoning proposal. Switching to the hearings, we will first hear a proposal that concerns then hear a text amendment to decrease parking requirements to facilitate new residential buildings in Harlem. We will then hear a proposal that concerns a mixed-use residential development proposed at 282-311 Marcus Garvey Boulevard in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. The third and final hearing concerns a mixed-use residential development at 1289 Atlantic Avenue, also in Bed-Stuy. I will now go over hearing procedures. This meeting is being held in hybrid format. Members of the public who wish to testify may testify in person or via Zoom. Members of the public wishing to testify remotely may register by visiting the New York City Council website at www.council.nyc.gov/landuse to sign up. And for those of you here in the chambers or in room 16, please see one of the Sergeant at Arms to prepare and submit a speaker's card. Members of the public may also view a live stream broadcast of this meeting at the Council's website. When you are called to testify before the subcommittee, if you are joining us remotely, you will remain muted until recognized by myself to speak. When you are recognized, your microphone will be unmuted. Please take a moment to check your device and confirm that your mic is on before you begin speaking. We will limit public testimony to 2 minutes per witness. If you have additional testimony you would like the subcommittee to consider, or you have written testimony you would like to submit instead of appearing in person, please email it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Written testimony may be submitted up to 3 days after the hearing is closed. Please indicate the LU number or the project name in the subject line of your email. We request that the witnesses joining us remotely remain in the meeting until excused by myself, as council members may have questions. Lastly, for everyone attending today's meeting, this is a government proceeding and that the quorum must be observed at all times. Members of the public are asked not to speak during the meeting unless you are testifying. The witness table is reserved for people who are called to testify, and no video recording or photography is allowed from the witness table. Further, members of the public may not present audio or video recordings as testimony, but may submit transcripts of such recordings to the Sergeant at Arms for inclusion in the hearing records. Starting with today's vote, the first vote is to approve LU's 57, which concerns the gaming facility text amendment. In 2022, the state authorized the issuance of up to 3 licenses to operate a gaming facility downstate, including New York City. As part of the authorization, the state specified a detailed application and review process that includes a mandatory local review. Presently, casinos are not allowed in the city. The proposed text amendment would allow applicants to submit development proposals located in the city and compete for one of the 3 authorized gaming licenses to be issued by the state. Only an applicant awarded a gaming license would be able to actually build a casino under the proposed text amendment. If an applicant located in the city is awarded a gaming license, the underlying zoning regulations would not apply. It is the site plan approved as part of the local review process that will govern what the selected applicant can build. It is important to remember that we are not voting today to allow any specific proposal to be built, but simply providing applicants with proposed sites in the city the ability to compete for one of the 3 licenses that the state is seeking to issue in the city and surrounding counties. The second vote is to approve LUs 41, 42, 43, 46, and 47 concerning a proposal known as the 341 10th Street. This is a mixed-use residential development proposal located in Councilmember Villa's district in Park Slope, Brooklyn. The development is anticipated to create approximately 300 new units, preserve 154 units, and include ground floor commercial space as well as open space. This is a complicated project that involves 5 actions because it includes an existing building and the site is located over subway tracks. The first proposed action involves rezoning a residential area from an R6A to an R7-3 residential district with a C2-4 commercial overlay. The second proposed action is to map 2 different MIH areas, one for workforce housing at a higher area medium income and another area at the lower area medium income. Although we do not usually map the workforce option, here it is warranted due to the high construction costs associated with building above subway tracks, and also because applicants have committed to both provide one of the new buildings for senior housing and to preserve the current rents in the existing building. The third and fourth action are special permits that modify the applicable bulk and the parking regulations given the unusual site conditions. The fifth action is to approve a property tax exemption that will facilitate the preservation of the existing building and creation of the senior housing. Councilmember Villa supports this proposal. The third vote is to approve LUs 58 concerning a proposal known as the 41 Richard Street. This is a mixed-use manufacturing development proposal located in Red Hook, Brooklyn, that is also in Councilmember Villa's district. This is an unusual proposal as well, in that the developer is proposing to develop a building predominantly for manufacturing uses, specifically targeting small businesses. This is the type of project that the city needs to retain its manufacturing base. The proposal consists of rezoning an existing M1-1 manufacturing area to an M1-5 manufacturing area, which has higher density. Councilmember Velez supports this proposal. The fourth and final vote is to approve LU 61, which concerns the proposal known as the 80-01 Broadway Commercial Overlay. This proposal is located in Elmhurst, Queens, in Councilmember Christian's district. The proposal seeks to legalize existing commercial uses along a section of Broadway that is presently an active commercial corridor. Councilmember Christian supports this proposal. Council, are there any council members with questions or remarks at this time?
No, Chair.
Okay. I now call for a vote to approve LUs 57 relating to the game. Oh, before I do, we're joined by Councilmember Hanks. Sorry about that. I now call for a vote to approve LUs 57 relating to the gaming facilities text amendment proposal, to approve LUs 41, 42, 43, 46, and 47 relating to the 341 10th Street rezoning proposal, to approve LUs 58 relating to the 41 Richard Street rezoning proposal, and to approve LU 61 relating to the 80-01 Broadway Commercial Overlay proposal. Council, can you please call the roll?
Chair Riley,
Aye on all.
Councilmember Moya,
I vote aye.
Councilmember Abreu,
Aye.
Councilmember Hanks,
Aye on all.
Councilmember Shulman,
Aye on all.
Councilmember Carr,
Permission to briefly explain my vote.
Permission granted.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say that crucial for me in this decision-making process is the sunset provision, which was added by the Commission before it came to the Council. Because while I respected the wish of others to perhaps consider casino applications for their areas, and there's a great local stakeholder structured group that will be making the decision on each application, it is not something that I'd like to see in my community. But given that there is a sunset, there's no danger of that, and that's why I'm comfortable voting aye on the gaming text amendment as well as the other items. So aye on all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Salam, who will be appearing, but I believe
Oh, he's right.
Councilmember Salam. Councilmember Salam, how do you vote, or would it be helpful just to repeat the project that we're voting on?
Oh, yes, please repeat.
So,
We are voting to approve LU's 57 relating to the gaming facilities text amendment proposal, to approve LU's 41, 42, 43, 46, and 47 relating to the 341 10th Street rezoning proposal, to approve LU's 58 relating to 41 Richard Street rezoning proposal, and to approve LU 61 relating to the 80-01 Broadway Commercial Overlay proposal.
how do you vote, Councilmember Salam?
Oh, yes on all.
By a vote of 7 in the affirmative, 0 opposing, and 0 abstention, the items are approved and referred to the full Land Use Committee.
Thank you. I now open the first public hearing on preconsiders LUs relating to the 15-21 124th Street text amendment proposal in Councilmember Salam's district. The proposal seeks to facilitate the construction of new housing in certain parts of Harlem by lowering the required amount of parking in R6A zoning district within the special 125th Street district in Harlem. For anyone wishing to testify on these items remotely, if you have not already done so, you must register online, and you may do that now by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/landuse. And once again, for anyone with us in person, please see one of the sergeants to prepare and submit a speaker's card. If you would prefer to submit a written testimony, you can always do so by emailing it to us at landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Councilmember Salam, would you like to give remarks on this project?
Well, I wanted to ask the applicant some questions.
Questions? All right, no problem. I will now call the applicant panel for this item, which consists of Jay Siegel. Council, can you please administer the affirmation?
Please raise your right hand and state your name for the record.
My name is Jay Siegel.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before the subcommittee and in your answers to all council member questions?
I do.
Thank you. For the viewing public, if you need an accessible version of this presentation, please send an email request to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. And now the applicant team may begin. Please remember to reinstate your name and organization for the record. You may begin.
My name is Jay Siegel. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Greenberg Traurig, and I represent the applicant. Can we put a presentation on the screen, please? As you said, Chair Riley, this is an application to construct a new residential building in an R6A district that would complete, it's on 124th Street between 5th Avenue and Lenox Avenue, right across from Marcus Garvey Park. that would comply with all aspects of the zoning resolution except for parking, and we seek a text amendment of the zoning resolution so that the 33 units in this building would not have to have a garage with 17 parking spaces. The purpose of can we change the image, please? Next. This is showing what I already said. The site, it's slightly over 10,000 square feet in the R6A district. Next, please. Again, it's right across from Marcus Garvey Park. Next. And the text amendment would say that R6A zoning districts, which have a 50% parking requirement, would be treated in the special 125th Street district as if they were in R7 districts, which has a much lesser parking requirement of 30%, so that in a site this size, with 33 units, the parking would waive out and we would not have to construct the garage. Next, please. And our site is in CB10. There are other R6A sites that would be subject to this amendment in theory that are both in Community Board 10 and Community Board 11, but in practice, we don't think any of them would benefit from them because they're already built up. We're the only site that's unimproved, and we'd be the only site that we think would benefit from this text amendment. Next, please. What we're showing is the reason we think we do not need a parking garage is that we're very near a railroad, very near at least 5 subway lines, many bus lines, and 4 city bike stations. So we think that the people who will be living in our 33 apartments, almost all of them would take mass transit, and a garage for 17 spaces would be unnecessary. Next, please. This just shows the outline of our building, which would be complying with zoning resolution as it must. It'd be 70 feet high. It would have about 30,000 square feet, and it would have about 33 units. Next, please. Well, these are the details, but this is the language of the text amendment that would effectuate what I described. It would treat new buildings in an R6A as if they were in an R7, and they would benefit from the R7 provisions, which have only a 30% parking requirement, and then waive out a low amount of parking spaces, which here would amount to no spaces. It would be a complete waiver. Next, please. Again, this is explaining what I just said. Next, please. These are some images of other community facilities in the area. Next, please. Again, in the park across the street. I mean, I suppose one of the reasons of showing the park across the street is that we would not have a curb cut right across the street from the park, which is generally a good thing, not to have cars going in and out right across from a park. Next, please. And then this is, again, an illustration of the building. That's my presentation. Questions?
Thank you so much, Jay. So you kept reiterating all parking will be waived. What do you mean by that?
Right, is that the parking requirement in an R7 is 30% of the units, and that would mean 33 times 30% would be we would need 10 spaces, and 10 spaces is below the amount that requires a parking garage in an R7, so we wouldn't have to provide any spaces. That's how the text amendment would work.
Can you explain why you expect the residents of this building to have lower car ownership, even though you did mention that it's surrounded by several transportation alternatives? But do you expect no one to have any car ownership?
No, I mean, at a 33 units, there'll probably be a couple of people who will have cars, but we anticipate very few because of the access to mass transit. And there are plenty of garages in the area that could absorb a couple of extra cars. And we don't think that would warrant building a 17-space garage for a couple of people that might have cars. We really only anticipate 1, 2, 3 people might have cars out of the building.
Can you describe the size of units that would be proposed in the building?
I think they'll mostly be families, 2 bedrooms, 3-bedroom units.
2 and 3 bedrooms?
Yes.
So currently right now it's 33 units, right?
Out of 30,000 square feet. So that's close to 1,000 square feet. The 1,000 square feet wouldn't be in each unit because there's hallways and elevators, but it's probably an average size of 850 or so.
Per unit.
Yeah, which is a lot bigger than a studio or 1 bedroom.
Yeah. All right. Councilmember Salam?
Yes, thank you, Chair. In the original land use filing for this project, 797 square feet of space was proposed as community space, as community facility space. Can you explain what prompted the applicant to change the application so that it no longer includes that community space?
Well, right, the initial thinking was that in an R6A, with a community facility in the ground floor, you get an overall height of the building of 75 feet. And initially, the applicant thought that that would be an important thing for the building. Without the community facility space, you don't lose any floor area. You make an additional residential space that you need, you get a maximum height of only 70 feet. And the applicant decided that it was more beneficial to have extra residential space than it was to have the extra 5 feet in height.
Is the applicant amenable to including community facility space for seniors in the ground floor of the building? And if so, how much space could be made available for that purpose?
Well, yes, you did raise that subject with us, and I'd prefer to chat with you about that between the hearing today and between the vote of the committee, in part because my client is out of town and I want him to be part of the conversation. So hopefully we can start talking about it very soon and communicate with him, and he's due back next week, and try to reach an agreement as to what makes sense to you and what we can do.
How has the applicant responded to Community Board 10 and Community Board 11's concern about coordination with Harlem Village Academy's West Lower Elementary School during construction, and also prioritizing local hiring for construction?
Again, I would prefer to chat with you about that after the hearing. We have not yet communicated with them, in part because, as you know, they voted against the application, although the Borough Board voted in favor and the Manhattan Borough President voted in favor, and although the Land Use Committee of Community Board 10 voted in favor, overall they voted against, or there hadn't been any follow-up conversations about some of the details of what they asked for. But of course, we'd be happy to chat with you about that.
And also, what is the breakdown for the units in this project in regards to market rate versus affordable units?
It's totally market rate, that and I don't know how much above affordable market rate will be in this area, but it's market rate. There's no MIH, there's no upzoning, there's no relief. We're in a, just for the clarification, we're in a zoning district. I know you understand this, Councilman Salam, but for the other council members, we're in a zoning district that doesn't require affordable housing. And it may be that there will be some affordable housing if the state actually does what we're reading about. And there's a 485X, something that I'm reading in the newspapers, that actually gets enacted. There might be some affordable housing in a building, but up until we've heard about this, with no tax exemptions available, that the applicant, the owner was going to build what the zoning resolution allowed, which is market rate.
Given that we don't know yet, like you said, in terms of the tax exemptions that are coming down the pipe, if it's going to be yes or no, I'm wondering, is there room to have affordable units made available?
Not without tax exemption, no. This is a small project. and it is going to be built. And the question is whether we need a garage that we don't think makes sense or we don't. There's no room to turn it into a partially affordable project unless there's some tax relief that the state is going to grant.
Right, that's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? Thank you, Councilmember Solano. Are there any members of the subcommittee that have questions for this applicant panel? There being no questions, this applicant panel is excused. Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify regarding the special permit application relating to 15-21 124th Street text amendment proposal?
No one has signed up to testify in person, and no one has signed up online either to testify. So we can proceed with closing this hearing.
Thank you. There being no members of the public who wish to testify on preconsidered LUs regarding the 15-21 120th Street text amendment proposal, the public hearing is now closed and the item is laid over. Please hold 1 second. There's going to be a little change. We're actually going to hear 1289 Atlantic Avenue second, and we're going to hear 281-311 Marcus Garvey Boulevard after. So I will now open.
Chair, if I may just interrupt you, sorry. If, it appears that the applicant, we're also waiting on the applicant for 1289 Atlantic Avenue, so we'll need to pause.
You're here for 1289?
Oh, you are, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so my apologies, Chair.
All right. Good. All right. I would now like to open up the public hearing for preconsidered LUs relating to the 1289 Atlantic Avenue rezoning proposal located in Councilmember Osei's district in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. The proposal is to develop a mixed-use residential development with approximately 112 units that would be subject to mandatory inclusionary housing. For anyone wishing to testify on these items remotely, if you have not already done so, you must register online, and you may do that now by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/land use. And once again, for anyone with us in person, please see one of the sergeants to prepare and submit a speaker's card. If you would prefer to submit written testimony, you can always do so by emailing it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. I would now like to give Councilmember Osei the floor to give any remarks.
Thank you, Chair Riley, and good morning to all colleagues on this committee. And thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak regarding the applications for 281-311 Marcus Garvey and 1289 Atlantic Avenue. As you know, my name is Councilmember Chi Osei, represent the 36th District. The two aforementioned applications are in my district, and I am here today to talk about the importance of both of these projects. There's no question, as we all know, that New York City is going through a housing crisis, primarily thanks to the dire shortage that we are seeing across all of our districts, or most of our districts. It truly has a significant impact on the communities of Bed-Stuy and North Crown Heights. And this is an emergency that we have to tackle, especially in terms of the shortage that we are seeing. Over the past 10 years, my district has seen the largest displacement or demographical shift of Black people out of every other community within New York City. And this is primarily due to the lack of affordable housing and housing in general. It is crucial that we ensure our neighbors are able to remain in the communities they were raised in, and to do that, we must increase any and all affordable housing opportunities when we can. Now, I want to speak about both of these projects. The first is 281-311 Marcus Garvey, and the application seeks a rezoning to facilitate the construction of two mixed-use buildings with a total of 154 dwelling units. I'm very excited about this project because it will be 100% affordable housing, targeting units to those who are formerly homeless and those with AMIs in the 30% to 80% range. Just to give a breakdown of what those rents would look like in this development, they will be as low as $215 per month for a studio for those who are formerly homeless, and as high as $2,665 for a 3-bedroom unit for those in the 80% AMI level. I'm not sure if anyone's been looking for an apartment in Bed-Stuy anytime recently, but that is crazy low rents for a 3-bedroom. The development will bring in more affordable units to the 36th district, which will provide more opportunities for our residents to remain in their communities, and I am in full support of this project. The 1289 Atlantic Avenue application seeks a rezoning to facilitate the construction of a 14-story mixed-use building with ground floor retail space, 112 dwelling units, and 41 residential parking spaces. I know the ears of my constituents perk up when they hear that. The applicant has also proposed creating a pedestrian plaza adjacent to the northern entrance to the Atlantic Avenue LIRR station. I'm very pleased to see the applicant propose a development that goes further than MIH by making use of HPD's mix and match program. 62 of the proposed 112 units of housing, which is more than half in this development, would be affordable to households making less than 60% AMI. And the remainder would be available to households making 90 and 130% AMI. As we review this particular application, I continue to urge the applicant to commit to the proposal to use the mix and match program. Commitment to this term sheet is an incredibly important element of this project. Using the mix and match program will expand the number of affordable housing opportunities for the project, which may not be possible under the traditional MIH options. With the mix and match program, we are going to see more than half of the dwelling units targeted for those making less than 60% AMI. If there are ways for the applicant to make more units affordable in this project and to expand affordability levels, I urge them to do so. And finally, I want to thank Chair Riley and to my colleagues on the subcommittee, and I look forward to hearing from the applicants on this proposal.
Thank you, Councilmember Osei. I will now call the applicant panel, which consists of Lisa Orantia, Council, please administer the affirmation.
Please raise your right hand and state your name for the record.
Lisa Orantia.
Do you affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in your testimony and in response to council member questions?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the viewing public, if you need an accessible version of this presentation, please send an email request to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. And now the applicant team may begin. Please just reinstate your name and organization for the record.
Thank you, Chair Riley, and good morning, council members. My name is Lisa Orantia on behalf of the applicant AA Atlantic LLC. This application is for a zoning map amendment, changing an M11 district to a C45X and R6B districts, and a text amendment to map an MIH area for options 1 and 2 to facilitate the development of a site in Bed-Stuy in Community District 3. Next slide, please. The project area is on Atlantic Avenue between Nostrand and New York Avenues, next to a Nostrand Avenue LIRR station. Next slide. The project area has approximately 550 feet of frontage on Atlantic Avenue and 167 feet along New York Avenue. The development site comprises about 27,000 square feet of lot area. Next slide. The proposed rezoning in MIH area would help mitigate the housing crisis by allowing new transit-oriented affordable housing, facilitate investment in community amenities and growth of local services, strengthen and improve the streetscape and safety along the Atlantic Avenue corridor, and allow a maximum building height compatible with nearby zoning districts. Next slide. Under the proposed rezoning, a proposed pedestrian plaza will replace a former hardware store currently used as an event space at the corner of Atlantic and New York Avenues, and 6 residential buildings on New York Avenue will become conforming. Next slide. Along Atlantic Avenue, the new building will replace commercial vehicle storage and parking lots, a vacant warehouse, a former contractor's shop used as a house of worship. The event space and church tenants have been offered space to rent in the new building. Next slide. For existing uses in the project area, under the proposed rezoning, a tire and woodworking shop can continue as non-conforming uses. Unoccupied warehouses can be developed for new as-of-right uses, and residential and commercial buildings and open parking lots can continue as of right. Next slide. The proposed development is a 14-story mixed-use building with about 20,000 square feet of commercial uses on the first floor, 17,000 square feet of community facility space on the second floor, and 112 apartments on upper floors with 41 residential parking spaces in the cellar. A 2,500 square foot landscaped seating area, including an MTA ClearPath easement, will adjoin the LIRR stairway. Next slide. All apartments will be rented to households earning a range of affordability tiers under the Mix and Match program, including 28 units under MIH Option 1. Next slide. The Community Board 3 and the Borough President's Office recommend approval of the application with conditions. And with regard to these recommended conditions, we'd like to note that a separate application for certification of a transit volume will establish a permanent ClearPath easement with MTA to support accessibility around the LIRR stairway. Prior to demolition and construction, adjoining owners are able to negotiate access and license agreements with specific terms providing for property protection. Instead of an MX district, which is what the Borough President recommended, we believe a new zoning district should support a mixed commercial and residential neighborhood for several reasons. The Atlantic Avenue corridor is no longer a manufacturing corridor because site access is constrained by the adjacency to residential uses and the elevated rail. And as a result, a majority of the property area is comprised of shuttered warehouses, closed shops, and parking lots. Lastly, existing industrial uses, light industrial uses, and small maker spaces can continue as non-conforming uses under the rezoning and may even become allowed as of right under the proposed text City of Yes for economic opportunity. Lastly, regarding parking, community members reacted positively to the proposed parking, but we will reevaluate the parking requirement under the Housing Opportunity Text Amendment. And we're also waiting for HPD's review of our program design for a definitive dwelling unit count. The next slide shows a site plan, and that concludes the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Just have a few questions, and I'm going to pass it over to Councilmember Osei. Are there existing commercial and manufacturing businesses that are operating within the rezoning area that you mentioned? Have any of these businesses shown interest in returning to the site once redeveloped? And if so, which businesses and what are the relocation plans pending construction?
Yes, so as I mentioned, the tenants of the event space and the house of worship have been offered space in the new building. The tire and woodworking shops can continue as non-conforming uses, and to the extent that they become as of right uses under the rezoning, they are also welcome to use space in the new building.
Why did you select a C4-5X district for this site and not a C4-5D, which has an equivalent residential R7D district that is usually mapped along elevated train lines such as here?
The C4-5X allows the additional height for the building, which we felt was appropriate. We were able to provide, with that additional height, we were able to achieve the 112 dwelling units and also set the building back from the sidewalk by 5 feet to allow additional room at the street level, while also providing significant setback at the rear lot line.
If this application isn't approved, what would the applicant do at this site?
The site would remain as is.
And what's currently right there?
Right there now is the former contractor's building used as an event space, open parking lot, the house of worship in a closed contractor's store, and open parking, commercial vehicle storage.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Osei?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Riley. And can you give us an idea of how the conversations have been going with HPD in terms of ensuring that this project is a mix and match project rather than an MIH project?
Sure. We've been in continued conversations with HPD and have prepared an application form with them, and we'll continue conversations to comply with the mix and match term sheet.
Have there been any obstacles or barriers within those conversations? And
Not that I'm aware of.
great. And what is your level of commitment to ensuring that this will be a mix and match project?
Well, we do our best to comply with the requirements of HPD, and we look forward to having further conversations with them.
Thank you, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Osei. Are there any members of the subcommittee that have questions for this applicant panel? There being no questions, this panel is now excused. Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify on 1289 Atlantic Avenue rezoning proposal, remotely or in person?
There is no one who has signed up online to testify to this proposal, and there is no one in the room also who has signed up to testify. So we can go forward and close this here.
There being no members of the public who wish to testify on the preconsidered LUs relating to the 1289 Atlantic Avenue rezoning proposal, the public hearing is now closed and the item is laid over.
One second. We have almost. Can you just pause it for?
We're just going to be on pause real quick.
Not the whole team, but they can go ahead. And so this person is here, this person is here, this person is here.
Got it. I will now open the last hearing on preconsidered LUs relating to 281-311 Marcus Garvey Boulevard rezoning proposal located in Councilmember Osei's district in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. The proposal consists of two mixed-use buildings that will contain approximately 155 residential units. Both buildings would be subject to mandatory inclusionary housing. For anyone wishing to testify on these items remotely, if you have not already done so, you must register online, and you may do that now by visiting the council's website at council.nyc.gov/landuse. Once again, for anyone with us in person, please see one of the sergeants to prepare and submit a speaker's card. If you prefer to submit written testimony, you can always do so by emailing it to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. Councilmember Osei, you want to give remarks?
I think I spoke about both of the projects before, but thank you, Chair.
All right. I will now call on the applicant panel for this item, which consists of Sanjana Gupta, Sung Kim, and Cody R. Hart.
And Chair, we've also been joined just now by Anna Weiss, in fact.
And Anna Weiss. Okay. Council, can you please administer the affirmation?
Please raise your right hand and state your name for the record, starting from left to right.
Please press the buttons too, please. Thanks.
Sung Kim, the Director of Zoning and Planning at Magnuson Architecture and Planning.
Anna Weiss, Senior Vice President at Paths Development.
Sanjana Gupta, Project Manager at Paths Development.
Cody Earhart, Landscape Architect at Terrain NYC.
Okay, so if you can all raise your, keep your right hand raised. Do you affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in your testimony today to the council members and in response to their questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the viewing public, if you need an accessible version of this presentation, please send an email request to landusetestimony@council.nyc.gov. And now the applicant team may begin. I'll just ask that you please reinstate your name and organization for the record before you begin. You may begin.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for having us here today. My name is Anna Weiss. I'm a Senior Vice President of Development at Paths Development. And today we want to introduce you to our proposed new construction project, which is 100% affordable, comprised of 155 apartments across 2 buildings, tentatively titled Marcus Garvey Boulevard Apartments. And in addition to those 155 affordable apartments, we are also proposing commercial and community facility uses along the ground floors and second floors. As part of the rezoning, we will also be improving over 27,000 square feet of open space on these parcels and in the, in the adjacent neighborhoods. Next slide. So as part of the rezoning request, we would be rezoning to R7A, C24 along Marcus Garvey Boulevard. This would require us to amend Appendix F to establish mandatory inclusionary housing area over the rezoning area. And then we are also requesting special permits pursuant to ZR 74-743 to allow for distribution of floor area, and pursuant to ZR 74-532 to allow for reduction of previously required parking spaces that are accessory to the existing buildings and moving that to 118 spaces. Next slide. Thank you. So here you can see the zoning map with our area, the proposed project area, highlighted in a yellow circle. Next slide. Thank you. And on the left-hand side, you can see the current zoning map, and on the right-hand side of this, you can see the proposed zoning map. The area being rezoned is outlined with dotted lines. And go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So a bit about Paths. We are a vertically integrated affordable housing firm. We have been developing and acquiring properties since 2004. And in addition to our development team, we also have a property management company, a maintenance company, construction company, and security company. The majority of our projects historically have been in New York, specifically New York City, although we do operate nationally. And at present, we have 12,000 apartments under management. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see an exterior photograph of one of our recent new construction projects. This is Archer Green Apartments. It's comprised of 387 apartments with commercial and community facility along the first 2 floors. This is located in Jamaica, Queens. The upper right-hand photograph is an image from the interior living room of one of the Archer Green apartments. And below that is another interior living room kitchen photos from a prior new construction project that we completed. And along the bottom, you can see for some of our acquisition and rehab projects.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
You just have to swear him in real quick.
Okay, thank you.
Just raise your right hand.
Hello, Barack. Right. Please state your name for the record.
Barack Rogal.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth in today's testimony before council members and in response to questions to council members? Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. Thank you. Welcome, Brock. So along the bottom, you can just see some photographs of before and after images of kitchens and bathrooms specifically in previous rehabs that we have completed. You can see that we have a tendency to take deeply distressed properties and turn them into something that are very nice. Next slide, please. And it's worth mentioning that we have already a long-standing commitment in this neighborhood. We have owned Betty Shabazz Apartments and Medgar Evers Apartments for over a decade, and it's on a portion of these properties that we are proposing to construct the new project, Marcus Garvey Boulevard Apartments. With that, I'll turn it over to Sung.
Next slide, please. So again, my name is Sung Kim. I'm the Director of Zoning and Planning at Magnuson Architecture and Planning. We are an architecture firm specializing in affordable housing, including senior and supportive housing. Over the past 30 years, we've developed and built over 100 ground-up buildings, consisting of over 13,000 new dwelling units. Here you see images of indoor-outdoor amenity space for the tenants. We put priority in providing common areas that are equitable to all the tenants in the building. Next slide, please. So here are some more images of exterior shots of our completed affordable housing projects. We are dedicated to improving lives and promoting more equitable communities through creation of safe, healthy, and dignified place to live. Next slide, please. So I'll go now into the project site. The image here is an area view of the project site. There are two project site. One, which is highlighted in yellow. The red shaded area is the project site. Currently, there's an existing two-story commercial building. It also contains 3 6-story apartment buildings known as the Medgar Evers. The second site is to the bottom of your image. The project site is shaded in pink, currently improved with 1-story commercial building, and also contains 2 6-story apartment buildings known as Betty Shabazz Apartments. Next slide. So here is a illustration of completed project showing 2 new buildings along Marcus Garvey Boulevard looking east. Next slide, please. So in addition to 2 new buildings, as Anna mentioned, there will be over 27,000 square feet of new and improved outdoor areas. Next slide, please. So we'll go a little deeper into each building. This is Building A on Site 1. Again, the key plant on the upper right corner. This is shaded in yellow. This building will replace existing 2-story outdated underutilized commercial building. This will be a 10-story, totaling approximately 81,000 square feet, containing 84 units, again 100% affordable. The ground floor will be a boxing facility. And on the second floor will be over 10,000 square feet of community facility space. Next slide, please. Here's a view of the second building, Building B. The key plan on the upper right, it's shaded in pink. This building is to replace existing 1-story commercial building. This building will be a 10-story, approximately 59,600 square foot building containing 71 dwelling units. It will also contain a retail space on the ground floor. Next slide, please. So here are 2 site plan diagrams outlining where the new and improve over 27,000 square feet of open space will be located. On your left-hand side is the key plan noted as in letters Open space letters A and B will be new open space created along with 2 new buildings. Open space C will be an improved outdoor rec space above an existing parking structure. Open spaces E and D will be an improved landscape outdoor area. Image on the right is an illustration of what they may look like. Next slide. And lastly, here's an image of open space C above the existing parking structure. It would be improved recreational space with basketball courts, exercise equipment, and children's play area. Next slide. With that, I'll pass on to Sanjana, who will discuss more about the project.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sanjana. Oh, do I need to hold it? Okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Sanjana Gupta from PATS Development. As we can see on the slide, the unit mix, and that this is a 100% affordable project. The project will be financed by the HPD ELA program, and it will serve AMI ranges from 30 to 80%. And there will be apartments set aside for formerly homeless households through the Our Space initiative. Rents range from $485, $86, excuse me, for the least expensive apartment, and up to $2665 for a 3-bedroom, which is our largest unit type, and this is at the highest income level. Next slide, please. Now, to discuss community benefits, our project offers many to the neighborhood. We will be first re-tenanting the boxing gym, which we understand is a major anchor within the community, and this will now be home to a warm and beautiful space for the next 50 years. Additionally, the project will include a new Class A space, commercial space, and we hope to re-tenant this with our existing grocery store tenant. Furthermore, residents of Medgar Evers and Betty Shabazz apartments, which are located on the same land as the proposed new construction projects, will also be able to access the 27,000 square feet of open space. The project will also lead to the creation of a multitude of jobs, ranging from operational to construction roles. And the proposed new construction will be monitored by cameras, security, and will have access control added for the safety of our tenants, which is our highest priority. And last but not least, we must note the green initiatives that will be provided through the building, which include sustainable materials, heat pumps, increased insulation, energy efficient appliances and fixtures, just to name a few. And these are just the main community benefits of the many that will be brought to the neighborhood by the project. Next slide, please. And I believe that concludes our presentation. We would like to open for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, how do the current residents feel about this project?
So we've had a number of conversations with the tenant association leaders of Betty and Medgar, and kept them apprised of the project as we've progressed. The design will continue to do so. I think that they are generally supportive of the project. They have come out for our community board meetings, and they're looking forward to the open space improvements that would benefit the Medgar and Betty existing residents as well. I would note the boxing gym is something that is very important to the community. We've had multiple conversations with with both the boxing gym and with our residents to understand that importance and to make sure that we can implement a plan moving forward that keeps them re-tenanted in the neighborhood long term.
What is the regulatory status of the existing 335 units in the 5 existing buildings?
When you say the regulatory status, they are currently in their LIHTC compliance period, and they have not yet reached year 15.
How are they affordable? And under which program are they affordable under?
I think they have, they're affordable under the low-income housing tax credit program federally, and then I believe we have many portable vouchers within the individual apartment units. And then there's also, just to support that, an Article 11 on both of the properties that currently exist.
Regarding the open space, how's the open space that is above the parking garage part of this application?
So we went through multiple iterations of potential landscaping, open space, and plans when we were in the pre-certification period with DCP. And it was important to them that along Gates Avenue there be also improvements, not just along Marcus Garvey Boulevard apartment, but something that would also benefit all of the neighborhood in terms of sightliness, and particularly our residents in terms of usage. So for that parking garage, that is an existing parking structure. At present, there is some recreation, up top, but our goal would be to really bring that to the next level. As you may have seen in that rendering, what we are proposing is a new basketball court, turf space, seating space with some shade structures, umbrellas and tables, an outdoor fitness area, a new playground, something that would just make this a real draw for the community overall. But again, that would just be on the top of that existing structure, which is still part of the existing building.
And where's the current boxing gym at?
So the boxing gym, if we could go back to, let's see, the aerial rendering of existing conditions, that is along Marcus, it's part of Medgar Evers Apartments along Marcus Garvey Boulevard between Quincy and Gates. And we are proposing, in this presentation, we're proposing that they would be, in that same location. I think as we're going down the line and having conversations with both the boxing gym and the grocery store, we can see where the best fit between these two buildings would be for their space and their future plans.
And what's going to happen during construction to the program that's at the boxing gym?
So this is still under sort of review and consideration, but we understand that a cessation of services would not serve the neighborhood well. And so what we would be looking to try to do would be to create a temporary location for them for the duration of construction so that they can continue to serve the community and then be re-tenanted into this new Class A space, bringing them forward for the next, 40, 50 years.
Thank you. Councilmember Osei?
Thank you, Chair. Just to follow up off of the Chair's point, what does that agreement look like between you all or the new management and the owner of the boxing gym in terms of making sure that they are the new tenants or the same tenants when the development is done?
Yes, this is something that we haven't yet codified, but we have talked about how we could memorialize that. Nothing has been set in stone, but they certainly have expressed that they would like assurances that we're going to build this and then they will have that longer term right to use that space. And so how that will ultimately be papered is still to be determined between our teams, but we certainly want to provide that assurance to them.
Do you have a rough idea of when that will come into existence, or is that?
I'm guessing, as we continue to develop the plans and we are able to pinpoint exactly what their space would look like and, how we can best serve them moving forward, we would be hammering that out as part of a pre-closing process.
Oh, great. Can you describe the size of the dwellings or the size of the units that will be built in terms of square footage?
Let me see if I can pull that up. Sung, I don't know if you have that handy.
So all the dwelling units will be built, in accordance with HPD's minimum design standards. So typically, studio, will range between 450 and 500 square feet. One bedroom between 550 and 600 square feet. Two bedroom units are around 800 square feet. Three bedroom units, 950 to 1,000 square feet.
Thank you. I mean, I'm relatively supportive of this project, as I shared in prior statements. I don't know how you guys have the money to build affordable housing like this in Bed-Stuy, but really appreciative that you're going down this route.
Thank you. That support is appreciated, and we continue to discuss this with HPD. we've penciled this out under the ELA program using subsidy, and are contemplating some potential tweaks to that in order to make sure that this could get into the ground sooner rather than later, and we can provide this to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One more question. Can Councilmember Osei and I come to the boxing gym when it's ready?
I am sure that Nate would welcome you with open arms.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Are there any other questions for this applicant panel? There being no questions, this applicant panel is excused. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
No problem. Council, are there any members of the public who wish to testify on 281-311 Marcus Garvey Boulevard rezoning proposal?
No, Chair, there's no one who has signed up online to testify, nor in person. We may proceed with closing this hearing.
There being no members of the public who wish to testify on preconsiders LUs relating to 281-311 Marcus Garvey Boulevard rezoning proposal, the public hearing is now closed and the item is laid over. That concludes today's business. I would like to thank the members of the public, my colleagues, subcommittee council, land use, and other council staff, and the Sergeant at Arms for participating in today's meeting. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Thank you.